Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast powered by Closers.io, where we explore the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and the road ahead for them and their companies. I'm your host, Milan Kohut, and in each episode, we uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced, the lessons learned, and the strategies fueling future growth. Today, I'm absolutely thrilled to be joined by Ralph Brewer, the founder of Help for Men and creator of Dad Starting Over, who leads platforms dedicated to supporting men through divorce, sexless marriages, and relationship challenges. His work draws from personal experience rebuilding after a painful divorce over a decade ago, evolving into YouTube channels Dad Starting Over and Real Help for Men that deliver straight talk advice on reclaiming confidence and masculinity. With that being said, Ralph, let me officially welcome you to Founders Future.
Thank you so very much. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
It's great to have you on the podcast. We're going to jump right into the conversation. And what I love to do with every single one of my guests is start at the beginning, right? We're going to travel back in time before you even had this company. What were you doing before? And then eventually, what was the motivation for starting the business?
I was a marketing director, if you will, for one company as an employee and then doing some side marketing work on the creative end of things for several other companies. So I was like the marketing dude. So if you needed like a website done, videos, graphics, all that kind of stuff, I took care of all of that.
That comes in handy in business.
Yes, that has served me
Awesome.
well in my own venture for sure. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure it did. Now, if you look retrospectively back at the very beginning of your journey with this project, what would you say was like the aha moment or the spark up to really get into this niche and help those men?
It's interesting. I just kind of stumbled into it from my own little journey, which was, to make a long story short, a horrible divorce. I one day I had my life and my three kids and everything was planned out, and the next day it was like, nope, I don't think so anymore. And so it was very traumatic for me. So I had a very difficult time coping with this. And part of my method for coping was to write. So I would blog about my experience as a dad
Mm.
starting over. And that started getting some attention. And that caused some people to reach out to me. And this as an entrepreneur, this will be interesting to you. I listened to people who said, you know what you should do? And I would listen. I would say, what is that? And they said, you should write a book on this subject because when you write on this particular subject, we really like it. And so I wrote a book. And that achieved some success at first. And then somebody said, you should advertise the book. And here's how I think you should advertise it. And it was the guy who said, I'll offer my help at no charge. I really like your material. Here's what I think you should do to further promote this book. And so I did. And it got more attention. And next thing you know, to make a long story short, hundreds of thousands of people read that book, which allowed me to write four more books, which allowed me to start a members group, which allowed me to do one-on-one coaching for people, which allowed me to actually hire more people to join my team to help out. So it was the key to my success, so to speak, was going through my own journey, doing things for myself. Other people noticed and said, I think you should actually do this for others. You should charge for it. And then I would act on it and do it. And then it became a success. Knock on wood. So I've been at it for, like I say, over a decade now.
Yeah. I mean, listen, my ideology is that life really happens for us. So obviously I'm very sad for whatever bad happened to you, but at the same time, it really made you who you are today.
Hmm.
And it gives you like an excellent ability to truly relate to your clients and whatever they're going through. So that's a good thing. That's a positive side
Exactly.
of everything. Beautiful. Ralph, we're going to talk about what this business really looks like today and where the journey overall got you. My goal in this part of the podcast is really bring the listeners close to understanding who it is exactly that you're trying to help right now, but also what are the core offerings that you have in place for your clients. So tell us all about that.
Sure. Who we are helping is men who come to me who have relationship problems in general. And then that breaks down into different silos, if you will. We have guys that are, I'm in a marriage and it's very dysfunctional. I'm having a very hard time coping with it. Maybe this is something I can fix. Maybe this is something I need to eventually leave, but I need direction and I need help and guidance with this. We have guys that have been through divorce, having a difficult time with the starting over process, guys in the middle of divorce, guys that have zero luck in the relationship game, period. Maybe they had a long term girlfriend boyfriend relationship and it fizzled out and they're just having a hard time finding another girlfriend and they're just really lost. Where all of these guys come together is a lot of them have very dysfunctional childhood, dysfunctional backgrounds. We've noticed with a lot of the guys we work with. They don't have a lot of men in their lives. So a lot of them have start with a book, maybe of mine. I have five of them. Maybe they start with a course. Maybe they've seen or listened to my podcast. Maybe they've seen me on YouTube. Maybe they've seen the bald head come up on their news feed on a lot of little clips here and there. I have, thousands of them that are out there. So we have a lot of different, I guess you could say, funnels or ways to bring men into the fold, so to speak, and ultimately into our private support community. And once they get into the community, then we have private discussion forums, we have live Zoom meetings, we have over, at this point, 1,400 hours of audio for them to listen to. Guys
Oh,
love
wow.
audio. They love audio books, they love listening to podcasts. So we have audio just for our members, which consists of all my audio books at no additional charge for the guys. We have all of the meetings that I talked about. We record all of them so they can sit and listen to them like podcast style, all kinds of cool stuff. We get together in person. We have conferences in the US as well as Australia. Um, what else do we do? The courses I mentioned, coaching with myself and others. If you're a member of the group, you get a big discount on those. So we have a lot of different avenues for getting guys in the door. Once they're in the door, there's a whole bunch of stuff that they can do, and they can spend more money when they're in the door. They don't necessarily have to. They could just join in on the meetings and the forums and so forth. In fact, a lot of guys just do just that. I have some guys that say, I got into the group because I want access to your full library of books. And I did the math and I realized for the cost of joining, it's actually way cheaper than if I bought each book individually. So I'm just joining that. But once they're in, they're like, I actually like the discussion. I love the meetings. I love being able to talk to all these guys. I've made great friends. And they stay month after month after month. We also give guys the ability to join either on an annual basis instead of month to month. The guys hate the monthly payment thing, a lot of guys do.
Hmm.
And eventually, most of our guys, almost three-fourths of them now, are lifetime members. So they pay one giant lump up front and they don't have to worry about payments anymore. So it says a lot about our group. Guys know that, I know I'm going to be here for years, if not forever. So why keep paying month to month? Why keep paying year to year? Here's just $647 I want to be in for life. So that's three-fourths of our membership have done that. So that says a lot about our group.
Exactly. I mean, if this is not a sign of you doing something right, people staying for a lifetime, then I don't know what is. But it's beautiful, and I also appreciate you walking us through this through the lenses of really a business owner, right? Because at the end of the day, it is the funnels that you need to create for people to join the community that you created. What I want to ask you, there's going to be a lot of listeners who are already business owners, maybe different industries, maybe even something similar to what you do. I'm
Mhm.
just wondering, what was the pivotal moment for you when you realized you need to create something on a group basis so that you have something more scalable as
Mhm.
opposed to just one-on-one time?
I would love to say that was all my own genius, but it wasn't. I actually hired a guy to help me by the name of Tony, who helps out with all the behind the scenes stuff. So I put a little project, if you will, up on Upwork. I don't know if you're familiar with Upwork. It's kind of like
Hmm.
Fiverr, you find freelancers and so forth. And I said, here's my deal. Here's this business. Here's what I do. I have no idea what I'm doing, but I have some form of success. I know I'm doing things wrong. I need somebody to help me. And Tony was one of the people that said, I've been down this road. I know what you're doing. And he looked at the business and he said, the book sales are actually doing well. You're selling like thousands of books a month. This is great. But that ain't going to last forever, dude. Eventually the book sales are going to start going down and you're going to be left with not much. You have the coaching thing, but that ain't much. And it's just you. You said the magic word. We need to scale this thing. And he
Yeah.
suggested you need something that brings in some kind of residual income. We need to give something back to the community that makes them want to pay on a month to month basis. And he's like, have you thought about this group thing? Great idea. So again, I heard this suggestion and I ran with it. And so put pen to paper and came up with the idea of what is it that I would want when I was going through what I went through. Discussion forums that no one else can see. I don't want my mom and ex-wife and everyone seeing what I'm talking about on Facebook or whatever else. We need some kind of private community. I like live conversations with guys. I would talk to guys on Skype back when Skype was a thing all
Hmm.
the time. So we utilize Zoom for our meetings and I some courses, and I want access to all these books at no additional charge. So we came up with this menu of things, and we nailed it because guys are like, "This is exactly what I like." Now, with that being said, anybody that does any kind of membership thing will tell you the same thing. You got a lot of guys that pay month to month and they don't do anything. They never sign into anything. They never, and we discovered this when we're like, guys, we're going to switch the system that we use for membership. So we're canceling basically all our memberships. Here's how to re-sign up again. And roughly half of them went away. And when we
Hmm.
looked at those that went away, we're like, I'll be darned, they never used anything anyway. They were paying month to month and were never using the service. So for a lot of you that are creating such a service, Guys that run gyms will tell you the same thing. For guys to go work out in, some large percentage of people never walk in the door, but they pay that monthly fee every month. So something we learned about that, and we try to bring those guys more into the fold. So we're always reaching out. Don't forget, we send every time we have a live meeting, we send out reminders. Here's how to join. Here's the recording for the meeting. It's on. Here's how to get to all these things. So constantly touching on those guys on every day, all day long with all this information really helps to keep guys engaged so they keep wanting to come back and pay their monthly fee or eventually become, like most guys, the lifetime members.
Yeah. There are several different alternatives in terms of how you can deal with the situation, but I want to build on top of what you just shared with us because I feel like that's a great point, and I know that there's going to be a ton of people listening to this who are struggling with the idea with charging more. And let me tell you one thing. When you really think about the offer that you can provide to your clients, from my perspective, one of the biggest benefits of going into the world of high ticket and charging more for the services is not only your ability to make more money and collect more upfront, but also you avoid these type of situations. Why? Because it's a basic human psychology. It's if I'm really coming into the system with my skin in the game, and I invested in you like
Hmm.
seriously, then I'm gonna make sure that I'm getting everything out of Ralph that I could possibly get,
Yep.
right? But compared to a couple $100 a month or maybe even less, there's gonna be a lot of people who don't really pay attention to it, right? So maybe just take this as an advice for anybody listening to this right now, and you're beating your head about charging more and really taking it seriously. This is a huge benefit. Ralph, would you agree with me?
Absolutely. Anybody who's done any kind of business will tell you the biggest pain in the butt clients that you have are the ones that spend nothing. The
Yes.
ones that are the biggest pleasure to deal with are the ones that have the skin in the game, the guys that pay a lot of money up front and they are invested in working with you. And in fact, I've hired some consultants to help me out with looking at the business and what is it I can do better. And they all said the same thing. You need a higher ticket item. It's like
Yeah.
we are selling this product for not nearly enough money. So I'm actually coming up with like a bundle of stuff. So if you want, so many like 10 coaching sessions, lifetime plan, access to our conference, and put that in one lump sum. And we're going to actually start marketing that here soon to see what kind of response we get back from guys. And we'll probably get those high earning guys that will have a lot invested, and they'll, if you know, if my experience shows me anything, they'll probably be quote better and more active members.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Great advice. Anybody listening to this, just rewind a couple minutes back, listen to it again. That's some golden nugget from you. Thank you. Now, in terms of this, obviously, you already mentioned several different sources of leads really coming into your pipeline, into the system that you can work with. Eventually, some of them
Hmm.
also convert to paying clients, right? I want to dig deeper into this because even what we discussed just now in the last couple of minutes, it always comes to the ability to really put yourself in front of the right people at the right time and having the ability to communicate your message clearly,
Hmm.
right? So I want to dive deeper into what is happening on the backend side and what do you do specifically for lead generation? And out of those strategies that you implemented and tested, what is really working the best for you right now?
So far, what has worked best for us, we have the data to show books and book sales. And I have formally polled our audience to say, how did you find us? So verbally, they tell us, and it matches up with what we're seeing data wise. And that is books. So they have to have enough of an acute pain point to search for, find a book, or they see my material online with the videos and so forth and say, that sounds interesting. Then they have to go to a website, go to Amazon, whatever it may be, pick up book. When they have that book, the book repeatedly throughout it says, and there's a fine line, you go from being annoying salesman to just giving them information, and that is join our community. Here is a survey you can take. By the way, if you want to take the survey, which will in turn give you a score to see where it is that you are on these certain parameters that we have that are outlined in the book, depends on what book they're looking at. We need your email and we need your name. So when they give us, now they're in the pipeline. Now we hit them with, hey, would you like to join? We give guys access to meetings for free. So member meetings. So we give them 2 credits, 2 meetings that they can attend for free just to see what the meetings are like. Those have been very good for us. So I would say books number one, followed by the surveys, the scorecard, if you will, surveys that they can take. They can get to that via the book or they can get to that via a social media post or one of my emails that goes out that mentions them periodically. So those are our top two sources for sure.
Beautiful. And I'm also curious to get your perspective on something else because even with those strategies that you've just mentioned, everything included is on the side of organic. Right now, when I end up having a conversation about this, especially organic and even like word of mouth and referrals, which I also believe is a part of what you do because there's a great service that you provide. Now, these are like that's the best type of lead that you could possibly get. So to close that deal, it's quite easy at that point because the results that you provide are speaking for you,
Hmm.
basically. But at the same time, there's typically a lot of frustration when it comes to the inconsistency of such sources. So I also want to see what is your perspective on running paid advertisements to create something more predictable and scalable in a
Hmm.
way? And also, have you already dabbled into it?
At the beginning, I did. I just stumbled into it. Like I mentioned, the guy at the beginning who told me you need to put some ads for the book, and that worked wonderfully on Facebook. So I put not much. The story I often give, and this is true, is that I'm like, let me put $50 down, and then I will see how it works over after one night. So I put the $50 down, forgot about it, checked the next day. So roughly 24 hours later, I had sold $700 worth of PDFs of my book. So $50 became 700, and I was like, I'm onto something here.
Hmm.
Now, I didn't get that rate of return for every time I ran some ad thing. I was chasing that dragon for years, so I'm like, I want to get that rate. But it was this, but overall the trajectory was good. And then for whatever reason, the Facebook ads just stopped working. And then it became way too expensive to get in front of the same number of people. But at the same time, my organic reach was growing. People were finding me more and more. Now I have like 250 some thousand followers on Facebook, for example. So that puts me in front of a lot of faces, and I can see some days I'm hitting 2 million people in a day with my material. So that's good. So I don't necessarily have to spend the money on the advertising. But that is something that I do see in the future here in the near future, we need to dabble back into again. And what I will suggest to people is find an expert who knows what the heck they're doing, because it's not
Yeah.
so easy. It is extremely complicated now. How do you get in front of the right people? When do you get in front of them? What kind of offer do you put in front of them? There's so many little variables that if you just mess it up a little bit, it's just dead in the water. So find an
Yeah.
expert. That's what I plan on doing. Yeah.
That's why it's so easy to waste money on it. You
Oh,
know, some
very easy.
people end up with the limiting beliefs of like, oh, ads don't work. You know, it's the algorithm or it's the change. It used to work. It's not true though. There's still a ton of people who actually are successful with their strategy. It's just this is what I always say. Like you either take the time to really master it yourself to know what the hell you're doing as you said yourself, or just find somebody who can do it for you. It's as easy as that. So I love this. Thank you for the perspective. And which also begs the question, obviously, there's a ton of actions that you need to take on front of marketing, but also communicating with the clients, converting them. What I want to see is how you went about the structure of your teams. Have you already built out your teams for both marketing, sales, possibly other departments, or what is the structure like for you right now?
There's not much of one, to be honest with you. Right now, the structure is myself and a team of six other gentlemen that are coaches, as we call them. So those coaches host the meetings. Myself and the other guys host meetings, and the meetings, in fact, become basically them marketing themselves as hire me as your coach. They all have this isn't their day job. They all have day jobs. This is just something a passion project, if you will, to belong to the group and do this. All of them except one. One of them does it, and he's the top guy. I don't think it's a coincidence.
Mhm.
And so we have them working as coaches and as meeting hosts, and they're also taking part in the forums and getting involved in that. They also act as moderators in the forums. If somebody says something wrong, they delete. Um, Marketing, you're looking at it. Sales, you're looking at it. Accounting,
Wow.
you're looking at it. So it's me for now. Yeah, this is a relatively small thing. I would love to say we're making millions a year. We're not yet. But it is definitely the groundwork is there and the systems are there. What I'm trying to do, what I have learned early on, is you want to create systems so that if I get hit by a bus, so to speak, I can hand a three-ring binder to somebody and say, this is how you run this from A to Z,
Very
from
smart.
beginning to end. So that's what I'm attempting still to do. And for anybody that's starting out in this whole business of online community, whatever, keep it simple. Don't try to bring in 18 pieces of IT stuff all working together in concert. those are chains that tend to break, and then you have to go fix this and fix that. We have one system that I'm not advertising for them. There are a lot of them like it. Entreport is the system that we use. There's others like HubSpot and others which are your CRM and everything all in one. That's what we use, and it's been a godsend for us. It's huge. We're realizing more and more things that we can do with it, with email marketing, with upselling, with building out these funnels and so forth. The scorecards that I mentioned are all done in that in-house. There are other apps that you can use outside for developing those scorecards, such as Score App, I think is what it's called. Daniel Priestley, he's a big entrepreneur guy. Kind of sort of know him. I did an interview with him and we've chatted a few times. He's created his own app that you can utilize just for that. And it's very, very effective, like 100 and some dollars a month to do that. So you don't necessarily have to have a big system like Entreport. And the writing books is a passion of mine, but it is so time consuming if you do it right.
Mhm.
And it involves you got to get the editor, the proofreader, and if you self-publish, that's all a job in itself. And my latest book here, I have it. Oh, it's called Rebuild. This is the complete guide to
Mhm.
starting over as a man. This is the one I'm most proud of. It's my beefiest book so far, and that's done really well so far. It's been out for about a month, and for the first time ever, my bestseller, The Dead Bedroom Fix, has been beaten by Rebuild. So that's a good sign. It's the first time
Good for you, man.
the book's ever outsold my bestseller. But Dead Bedroom Fix is about sex and marriage. So if what I've learned is that sex sells. Surprise, surprise. Especially with men, anything revolving around sex or lack thereof gets a lot of attention. It's a big pain point for a lot of men. So that was the thing that really got me going in the business world, the success of that book. So knock on wood, we've done it again with Rebuild. So that will bring a whole new, fresh, I guess you could say, influx of potential members there.
Yeah. Ralph, I think it's quite incredible that up to this point, you've been basically managing 90% of the workflow behind running the project, the sales, the marketing, the accounting, everything. But also, it's quite obvious how much passion you have for the project and how much you want to keep focusing on the impact that you have on these lives. So, are you saying that a part of your future plan is to create those teams, or would you still rather find a way to somehow keep it just to yourself and just making sure that you can operate within a system that is still scaling, sorry.
That's the big dilemma, isn't it? Because it is a passion thing. It's not so much I'm just stuck in this job. It's something that I really enjoy. So a lot of it has good or bad hinges on me creating content. I'm becoming the face of the business, so to speak. A lot of people know me as DSO, which stands for Dad Starting Over. I have been recognized in public, and people go, "Are you the DSO guy?" That kind of thing. So great. It boosts my ego, but it is a limiting factor in all this, isn't it? Like I talked about getting hit by a bus. That's legitimately a
Hmm.
concern. Not necessarily getting hit by a bus, but incapacitated in some way that I can't run the business for whatever reason. Does that mean everything just goes stops at that point? That's not a very smart business move. So you need to develop systems and you need to be able to branch out and be able to hand it over to somebody else saying it's all on you, buddy. I haven't got to that point yet, but that is something that definitely needs to be built out for sure. If I want this to be a viable business and not just Ralph's thing that has some helpers on the side. If it's a legit organization, we are officially an international organization. We have just over 800 members that are part of the member group that are paying. And we're getting new members every day. That's pretty awesome. And so this has legitimate legs here. And a bottleneck in all of this is Ralph doing everything. That can't continue.
Yeah.
So the IT thing, Tony does quite a bit. The managing with the meetings and so forth. The marketing, I am getting help with putting together some systems and emails and stuff to see how it's going to work for developing the large ticket item that I talked about. And that may result in handing over more and more of that to somebody else. All of that takes money, though. And I've spoke to one agency who said our retainer to start with is 20 grand. And I said, that's been nice talking to you. That's not going to happen
Yeah.
right now. Eventually, maybe, but right now, no.
Yeah. There is one thing that I'm going to say though. Obviously, I'm loving the self-awareness from your side because I think 98% of the business owners and entrepreneurs are eventually going to get to this point where they become the bottleneck themselves. But also at the same time, what I love to see from entrepreneurs is basically stepping into that position of authority in terms of becoming the leader that your team will need you to be in the future. Meaning, whatever we're talking about, whether that's the sales process, whether it's the marketing, it's always better for you to take the time to truly understand what is going on the front of marketing, for example, and why this strategy works. I'm not even saying that you should be doing it directly yourself, but taking the time to understand
Hmm.
means that you create the ecosystem where you can support your people, right? So, and it's also putting you in a position where maybe you're going to end up having one internal pe person who's taken over everything in regards to marketing, which is 90% of the time a better choice than just to hire somebody prematurely
Hmm.
externally because the alignment is never going to be there to the extent that you want to see, if that makes sense.
Hmm. Absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, it's the old dilemma of working in or on your business, but at the same
yeah,
time, you do need to start with the in. You do need to know all the little machinations of the business inside and out before you can
exactly.
hand over this chunk of it to this person and that person. Because people tend to fall asleep at the wheel. People tend to try to get one over on you, and if you know the business inside and out, you can say, "I see what's going on here. We're not doing that. We're doing this instead. We're not taking any shortcuts. We're going to do this. This is the right way to do it. I've been doing this for a decade plus. I know what works and what doesn't." No, we're not doing that agency I just hired. We're going to do this instead. If you don't have the wherewithal and the knowledge to do that, you can go down some bad roads for sure.
Hence becoming the best version of a leader that you could possibly be.
There you go.
So, absolutely. Ralph, before we wrap it up, I also want to ask you my last question. This is one of my favorite ever. So, considering you've been in business for quite some time now, if you could travel back in time and maybe speak to your younger self, maybe at the very beginning of your journey as an entrepreneur, what would be the best piece of advice that you would give yourself?
Eh, Good question. And it's the answer would be one that's analogous to a lot of things in life, which is don't be afraid to say help and don't be afraid and don't be afraid to go to others and say, how did you do that? So it may be a guy who's got a business that's making 500 million a year. You would be surprised how open those guys are. And some of it is a little psychology, stroking their ego. Hey, Mr. Man who's super successful, can I buy you lunch? You'd be really surprised how many of them go, absolutely. And they will just open the books to you and just tell you everything. All because you just said, help, I want to get to where you're at. I'm way down here, you're way up there. How do I do that? I say it's analogous to a lot of things in life because I have a lot of men who are post-divorce and a lot of pain and they have no community around them. They moved 1,000 miles away from their family and everything else, and they just feel completely alone. And you say, have you ever raised your hand and said, help? No,
Mhm.
nobody would help me anyway. Have you asked? Have you gone out there and tried to reach out to other men? I happen to have a community just for this. Care to join and see that there are thousands of other men just like you out there? And for a lot of them, that's a major eye opener. Oh, I'm not alone. There's people that have been there and done that and have systems in place to figure it out, whatever it is. They're out there. Just don't be afraid to ask for help.
Which, from my perspective, is also one of the most beautiful things about the community that you created. The sense of belonging and seeing other people going through the same
Yes.
journey. So I love the advice, man. I want to say thank you, Ralph, for taking the time, sharing the story with the audience and with me today. If anybody from the listeners wanted to get in touch, maybe even work with you, what is the best way to go about it?
You can go to helpformen.com. That has everything. You can jump right to the join page for our community at helpformen.com/join, or just you'll see Brotherhood there on the website. And from there, you can book time with me one on one, shoot me an email, whatever it may be, see me, chat in some live meetings. There's all kinds of opportunities to chat with me for sure.
Excellent. Thank you again, man.
Thank you so very
Now,
much. Appreciate it.
appreciate you as well. To our listeners, if today's conversation inspired you as well, also make sure to subscribe to Founders Future on your favorite platform. And also, if you're a business owner, more specifically a consultant or coach, or you have an agency, and you're trying to scale the business and really enhance both your sales and marketing efforts, also visit closers.io. Get in touch with our team and discover how exactly we scaled our company from zero to over 30 million per year in less than 3 years. Until then, keep on crushing it, and I'll see you on the next one.